Please turn off all cell phones and electronic devices at this time. The use of cell phone cameras, photographic, recording, or electronic devices of any kind is absolutely prohibited, and they must be turned off while court is in session. Credentialed representatives of the media who have gained approval from the court may use laptops, iPads, and tablets provided. However, they are not to be used for photographic and or recording purposes. There will be no talking while court is in session. For justice to be served, the jury must be able to stay focused on the court proceedings. Therefore, talking or disruptive behavior by anyone in the audience will not be tolerated. A violation of any of these rules will result in you being removed from the courthouse. Now, you may be seated.
Good morning, everybody. And, what? Oh yeah, we need Mr. Dunn. Thank you. Is the state ready to proceed?
We are, Your Honor, with the reminder of the first witness being...
Right. It will be Mr. Storns. It is Mr. Storns, isn't it?
Mr. Atkins.
Oh, that's right, Sean Atkins.
Yes.
Right. Defense ready to proceed?
Yeah, we are ready to proceed. I would also just note at this time for the record that the defense renews all previously filed motions and objections, as well as all previous oral motions and objections.
And all the rulings remain the same. I don't know if you have to do that every day, but I understand. You never know what an appellate court might decide to do. Okay. All right, so I'll bring the jury out here in just a second, and then you can call your witness, and they'll just bring him out if he's ready. We need a minute?
Yes.
Okay. Just let me know when he's ready to go. He is? Okay, so we're ready. We'll bring the jurors on in.
Jurors entering the courtroom.
All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You can all have a seat, and I trust everything went well last evening and accommodations to everybody's satisfaction. Hopefully breakfast was good. Not sure what's on the menu for lunch. We'll see. And we're ready to resume and get a nice full day's worth of work in. So, Ms. Corey, you can call your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. State called Sean Atkins.
Sean Atkins, please. Mr. Atkins, if you'll come right here before the clerk and to the best of your ability raise your right hand and she'll administer the oath.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, sir, if you'll come right on around this way for me. And you can adjust that microphone if you need to, or they'll help you with it. Just speak loudly into the microphone so everybody can hear you, okay?
All right.
Ms. Corey.
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning, sir. Tell these jurors your name.
Sean Lee Atkins,
Spell your name for the court reporter.
SHAWNLEEATKINS.
Are you currently incarcerated in the Florida State Prison?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Can you tell the jury the circumstances of your incarceration?
In March and April 2013, broke into a house, and I also stole gold from a family member, and I sold it, caught 25 charges, all felonies.
Okay. Did you admit to those crimes?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And you became convicted as a felon as a result of those crimes?
Yes, ma'am.
What was your sentence?
7 years, Florida Department of Corrections,
In which county were you prosecuted and sentenced?
Clay County, Florida.
And by whose office were you prosecuted?
Yours, ma'am.
How many felonies total were there to which you pleaded guilty?
25.
Were those all of the ones on which you were arrested?
I was arrested originally with 6, and then they bumped it up to 20, and then I got an extra 5 after about a month.
Was that based on multiple counts on several incidents?
It's the same thing, but I sold the gold at different times, and for every time I sold it, got another charge.
So all of your felonies were connected to the instances you just described to this jury?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you sentenced then by the Clay County judge?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's the county south of here, still in this circuit though, right?
Yes.
You've never been sentenced or handled by Judge Healy, correct?
Never.
Or by any other judge in Duval County?
Never.
Okay. And to remind the jurors again, to what term of prison did you get sentenced?
7 years.
Did all of this occur after November 23rd of 2012?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. However, in November of 2012, were you on misdemeanor probation?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
On what type of charge for that?
Civil battery and domestic battery.
Okay. Prior to November of 2012, where did you live?
In my truck.
In what county and city?
Duval, Jacksonville on the south side.
Why were you living in your truck?
I was homeless. My mom kicked me out.
Where was your mother living?
Arlington,
How old were you then?
21.
Did you have any contact with your father at that time?
No.
Were you employed?
Not until December
Of which year?
2012.
So in November of 2012, taking your attention back to that, where were you actually living?
Just out of my truck.
And with whom were you living in your truck?
My girlfriend at the time, Lauren Alderman.
Was Lauren Alderman employed in November of 2012?
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
Sustain.
Was she living with you in your truck?
Yes.
Okay. Was she also homeless?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Was she also homeless?
Yes, ma'am.
And both of you were living in your truck?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you keep your belongings in your truck?
Yes, ma'am.
What type of truck did you have?
An 88 Dodge Dakota extended bed.
Let me take your attention to Friday evening, November 23rd, 2012, at approximately 7 p.m., 1900 hours. Where were you and Miss Alderman living in your truck? I mean, where was your truck parked?
At the Winn-Dixie on Bay Meadows and Southside.
Why were you there?
That's where we were planning on sleeping for the night.
Let me show you an aerial photograph marked into evidence as State's Exhibit 3.
Can you see that on the screen?
No.
Okay, it's not up on our screens, and I don't think, Judge, we still see the courthouse on our screens. All right. Now, realizing that...
Ladies and gentlemen, can you all see it? Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. Realizing that that doesn't show the actual Winn-Dixie building, can you just circle the area near where you and Miss Alderman were parked?
Around that way. So that's the Publix right there. And then a little bit over is the Winn-Dixie.
Okay, so that side of the street. Are you familiar with where the Gate gas station is?
Very.
Okay, can you put a circle around the Gate gas station? How were you familiar with the Gate gas station at that time?
I lived over on Bay Meadows prior to living over in Arlington, and I went to that Gate gas station a lot before that. And then when me and Lauren were living over on the south side of the truck, we'd use that to go use the bathroom.
And so you're familiar with that intersection, are you familiar with it?
Very familiar with it.
Did there come a time around 7:30 when you and Miss Alderman actually went to the Gate gas station?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you show the jurors on this aerial as well, if you can see it? Why don't you tap the screen, it'll erase those circles. Kind of draw the route that you took to go to the Gate station. What was the traffic like on that evening, do you recall?
Jacksonville traffic. Light, not too heavy for evening.
Okay. And when you pulled into the Gate gas station, were there sufficient parking spaces available for you and Mrs. Alderman, or Ms. Alderman, to park and pull up in front of the station?
Yes, ma'am.
Where specifically did you pull in once you drove into that area?
To the far left parking space. There's, you got the front, the glass, the ice chest, and there's a parking space.
All right, let's show State's Exhibit 8, please. I'm going to ask you to look at State's Exhibit 8 in evidence, and does that depict the area where you parked?
Yeah.
Was your car gone at this time, by the
Yes.
time this picture was taken? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
But can you show the jurors approximately where you parked? Was it still light enough for you to see what was going on between you and the front door of the Gate gas station?
Plenty.
Plenty
Plenty.
of light?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you pull in to your parking space or back in?
I pulled in.
Did you see any other cars backed in, or were they all pulled forward?
They're all pulled forward.
Was there a vehicle in the parking space to your right, immediately to your right? As you pulled in, one parking space closer to the door, was there anybody right there?
No, ma'am. I believe it was open for like 2 spaces.
So 2 spaces over, no cars in between.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you notice a car in that third space closer to the door?
I believe that was the Durango.
What color Durango?
Red.
Was there any reason you noticed that car at that particular time?
Not really.
Did you get out of the car at that time, or did you stay in the car?
I stayed in the car
Why did you stay in the car?
because it's Jacksonville and I don't trust people. And I let Lauren go to the bathroom first. And then I was going to go when she came back.
Was it because your belongings were in the car?
Yes.
Okay. Now, did you observe anything unusual at the time Ms. Alderman was getting out of the car?
Nothing.
Were your windows up or down?
Well, my windows were down.
And did you hear any loud music of any kind?
No, ma'am.
What were the weather conditions that you recall when you actually pulled in and parked at the gas station?
Humid.
Was there any heavy rain?
No rain. It was clear.
Outside of normal traffic, was there anything loud that would have disturbed your ability to hear what was going on around you? Car alarms, store alarms? Did you have your own radio on? Anything like that?
No, my truck was off. I didn't hear nothing.
And then when Ms. Alderman opened her passenger door, did you hear anything at that specific time?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever hear any cursing or threatening statements?
No, ma'am.
How long would you say Ms. Alderman was out of the car before something did happen?
Less than a minute.
Could you ever see any car parked on the other side of that red Dodge Durango?
Not really.
Tell the jurors, while you were pulled up, the whole time you were sitting there and Ms. Alderman got out of the car, did you ever see any of the occupants of the red Dodge Durango get out of that car?
I didn't see him get out of the car, but I saw the driver come out of the gas station and get into the car.
And how did you know it was the driver?
He went to the driver's side.
May be obvious, but we have to get these questions on the record. And did you notice anything about him specifically?
Not really.
Was it a male or a female?
A male.
And was he black or white?
Black.
Did you see or hear him do or say anything?
No, ma'am. Not at all.
And he got right into his car?
Yes, ma'am.
At that time, were there any vehicles between you and the red Dodge Durango?
No, ma'am.
What happened then?
Started hearing gunshots. I heard 2 of them before I looked over. It sounded like firecrackers going off. I thought someone was playing a joke. And then when I look over, the red Durango is backing out real fast. And I see a man shooting outside of a Volkswagen, like a grayish colored car. And then the Durango drove off behind me, and shots were still being fired.
By who?
By the white man in the car.
Can you describe whether or not he was older or younger?
Older.
Did you ever see any of the young men in the Durango with any type of weapon at that point?
Never.
What did the Durango do when the shots first started firing?
Fled. They
Describe to the jury.
pulled out straight back and turned my way, drove off behind me toward the other plaza.
All right, I want you to stop a minute and just describe what you mean by the other plaza to the jury.
Well, there's the gate gas station. Gate gas.
Hold on one second, Mr. Atkins. I'm going to take you back to this photo. Can you just show the jurors what you mean by the other plaza?
Well, the gate's right here, and then over here is our plaza.
Okay, tap that screen. And I want you to show me, did the red Durango back all the way into that other plaza?
No, they drove forward.
Okay, so
Oh,
I call it a two-point turn. Is that fair to say where you back and then turn?
Yes,
That
ma'am.
might not even be the right phrase, but just do that on the map. Show the jury exactly what you saw the red Durango do. Okay, do you know how far it went?
after I left the gas station parking lot, I turned my attention back to the gun.
Okay. And did you clearly see the driver of that black Volkswagen, or you said, I think, you
Grayish.
said grayish Volkswagen, did you clearly see that being the only person with the gun?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Your Honor, may he step down over here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I want you to step down. And from the time you focused your attention on the shooter, I want you to show the jurors what you saw the shooter do. Same hand position, same stance if there was one.
This corridor right here, he's in that corridor of that shoot.
For which set of shots was that?
7.
As far as you know? Okay. And was there, at that point, was Durango clearly pulled out of there? Was there anybody between you and watching the shooter take that stance?
No.
What type of stance did you describe that as? Okay, you better take the stand because of the microphone, I'm sorry. Thank you, Your Honor. Why did you describe that as a police stance?
Just the way he was crouched and holding the gun.
Did it appear that this shooter was aiming that gun at the red Dodge Durango?
I don't really know the trajectory of guns. I don't shoot guns, but I assume because it was in that direction.
Okay. What happened next?
His girlfriend or lady friend came out of the store, looked,
How did you know it, and who is his? You need to be more
Mr. Dunn's, or the white man who
Okay.
was driving the car and shooting the gun. The lady came out of the store, looked crazy, looked like she didn't know what was going on, and jumped into the passenger seat. And that's when they drove off behind me.
Did you hear the lady friend say anything before she jumped into the gray Volkswagen?
No, ma'am.
Did you see the look on her face?
Shocked.
Did you ever hear the man shooting say anything before he drove off?
No, ma'am.
All right, and if you'll tap that screen and erase the mark you have showing where the red Durango was, did you notice how the shooter left that parking lot?
Yes, ma'am, the same
Show
way.
the jurors how the shooter left. So, following the red Durango?
Yeah, the same direction.
Okay. Now, what did you do? That black, you described it as gray. Was it light gray or dark gray?
Dark gray.
Okay, when you saw what you thought was a dark gray Volkswagen, when it backed out, and then when it started heading towards the other plaza, as you called it, what did you do?
I turned around, got a license plate number.
How did you get the license plate number?
Saw it and memorized it.
Okay. And why did you do that, sir?
Because I had to do something.
I'm going to show you what.
Tearing up our equipment.
At least I remember to put it on, Judge.
Let me show you what's been marked as states 170 in evidence and ask you, sir, do you recall if that's the number
Yes,
that you
ma'am.
recall?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have anything to write on in your vehicle at the time?
No, ma'am.
So what did you do?
I memorized it, said it over and over and over until I got into the gas station.
Did you immediately go into the gas station after you memorized this tag number?
Yes, ma'am.
And for what purpose did you go inside the gas station?
To give it to the cashier.
Did you give it to a cashier?
Yes, ma'am.
Describe the cashier to whom you gave that license tag number.
Older white lady.
Now, did you see Miss Alderman when you went inside?
No.
Where were you giving this tag number to the cashier?
The front desk.
So was it possible that Miss Alderman walked behind you and went out the door?
She most likely, she walked right past me. I didn't see her.
All right. What did you do after you spoke to the cashier?
I went to the bathroom to find her, to tell her we had to go. We had to go now.
Okay. Tell the jurors why you wanted to go so quickly.
November 19th, 2012, I was supposed to go to a probation meeting. I'm homeless, got no job, got no money. I don't want to go to jail. My girlfriend needs me to stay in a truck with her, so I didn't go. And I knew the police were coming, and I knew they were coming quick, and I needed to get out of there.
Okay. Did you find Miss Alderman inside that bathroom?
No.
So what did you do?
I headed back toward the entrance, and that's where I ran into her.
What did you tell her?
I didn't tell her nothing. I told her we needed to go.
You
I told her we needed to go. She looked at me, asked me, "What's going on?"
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
It's not for the
It's
truth.
innocuous, it's overruled.
Go ahead, sir.
She asked me, "What's going on?" I told her, "I'll tell you when we get in the truck and get on the road."
All right. Did you then get directly into your car?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you immediately leave the parking lot?
Yes, ma'am.
Before you left that parking lot, did you ever see the dark gray Volkswagen with the shooter come back?
Never.
Did you ever see the red Dodge Durango come back?
As I was leaving the store and ran into Lauren, it was already back.
The red Dodge Durango was already back?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I want you to tell this jury, to the best of your memory, the best of your knowledge, how long it was between the time you saw the red Dodge Durango back out and go in to the other plaza, I think you called it, and the time you saw it back at that store.
About 2 minutes,
And why are you so sure of that?
because I was in a hurry.
And because of the reason you stated earlier?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We're going to show you a screen excerpt. Judge, we're not going to play the video, but just a screenshot from State's Exhibit 168. And were you aware there was video surveillance inside the gate?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And is that you, sir, walking out?
Yeah, I'd be able to recognize that big jacket anywhere.
That is you?
That's my jacket.
Okay.
That's me.
And the timestamp, can you see it on there, on your monitor?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell the jurors what time this timestamp shows.
7:41 p.m.
And when you walked outside that door, sir, according to this timestamp at 7:41 p.m., was that red Dodge Durango back in that parking lot?
Yes, ma'am.
And where was it?
Right where the other truck was, or car.
Go back to States, I think 8. Hold on 1 second for me. Is that where you saw that red Dodge Durango?
I believe so.
And did you have to walk past it to get into your own vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
Was Miss Alderman with you?
Yes, ma'am.
At that point, were the doors open on the Durango?
I don't recall.
Okay. But did you mention anything to Miss Alderman then?
No.
Did you leave the gate gas station with Miss Alderman?
Yes, ma'am.
Where were you headed?
So back to the Winn-Dixie.
What happened then?
We got to the second entrance to the plaza, the far entrance. And-
Of which plaza?
The run right next to the gate. And there's the entrance at the far end that leads over to Old Bay Meadows Road. And you're right to Winn-Dixie. So she was looking at me, "Just tell me what's going on. Just tell me what's going on." So I told her. She slapped me.
What did you, hold on. What did you tell Miss Alderman was going on?
I told her somebody was shooting a gun. Someone's shooting a gun. I don't know. I got the license plate number. But she's telling me I had to go back
She slapped you?
multiple times.
Okay. And did she convince you to go back to the gate gas station?
Yes, ma'am.
When you went back, was she still with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you able at that point to pull into the station?
No.
Were there police officers there?
Many.
Had they set up what we call a perimeter where they were blocking people coming in?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you able to tell one of the officers that you actually had seen the shooting?
Yes, ma'am.
And then, knowing that you were on probation and could get in trouble, did you stay there?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you tell the police everything you knew
Yes, ma'am.
and everything you saw?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you stay until they allowed you to leave? Did you ever go down to the police building
I went down to the police building.
knowing that you were on probation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And was Miss Alderman, did she stay with you that whole time?
Yes, ma'am.
I have just one moment, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, just to remind the jurors, the charges for which you are now incarcerated occurred how many months after the Gate gas station incident?
About 5, 6 months.
And you knew you were a witness in this case, is that correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever ask Miss Wolfson for any help? She was handling the case at that time.
Never.
You had met Miss Wolfson?
That night.
You knew she was a prosecutor in the Fourth Circuit?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever ask her for any help on your charges in Clay County?
Never.
Did you ever alert Miss Wolfson or me or anyone else in Duval that you had charges pending in Clay County?
Never.
Did you ask for any help at that time?
No.
Have you since asked for help, just from then till now? You don't need to say specifically when, but have you asked for help? Did you speak with Mr. Guy?
Yes, ma'am.
Permission to lead, Your Honor, through this portion of it briefly.
Any objection?
Okay. So just between the time that you got sentenced and the time that you knew we'd be coming to court at some point, did you speak with Mr. Guy before your deposition and request some help?
Yes, ma'am.
And have you sent a letter since that time?
Yes, ma'am.
Has the state of Florida been able to give you any help now that you're incarcerated?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And is your only hope of help that you might be able to file a motion before your own judge down in Clay County to let them know you've given this testimony in front of the jury?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That's why I needed to do that. Then may I have just a moment with co-counsel?
Yes, ma'am.
I have no further questions, Mr. Atkins.
Ms. Abel, cross.
Good morning, Mr. Atkins.
Good morning.
Now, prior to the shooting, would it be fair to say or accurate to say that the two cars were parked evenly, the Durango and the Volkswagen?
They're side by side.
Okay. One wasn't much further ahead of the other or behind?
I can't recall.
Okay. Well, did you notice anything unusual about the way the cars were parked?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now, it's your testimony that as the Durango was leaving, that the shooter fired 7 shots?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, sir, isn't it true that in fact, when the Durango was leaving, it's your recollection that the shooter was shooting into the ground?
Like I said, I don't know guns. Never, I shot one time. And that was when I was really little. It looked low, but I couldn't tell you. I don't know trajectory like that.
Okay, well, isn't it true, sir, that previously you had told the police that you thought he was shooting into the ground?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you told them that night?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, isn't it also true, sir, that as you described the crouching stance or police stance, that actually it's your recollection there's a door between the shooter and the Durango?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the shooter would have had his door open, then he would have been behind his door,
Yes, ma'am.
and then the Durango,
Yes, ma'am.
putting a door between the shooter and the
Yeah.
Durango. And by door, I mean a car door.
Yes, ma'am, I know.
Now, sir, you were parked to the left of that Durango, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you really couldn't see what was going on the passenger side of that Durango?
No, I couldn't.
Okay, so you have no idea if anyone got out or got into the other side of the Durango, on the other side of you, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and you don't know if anybody on that side of the car had a weapon, because you couldn't see?
Correct.
And regarding the loud music, Mr. Atkins, you said that you didn't notice any loud music, but wouldn't it be more accurate to say you wouldn't have noticed if it was loud music?
I lived in Jacksonville for a long time. If there's loud music, I don't listen to it.
Okay, so if there were loud music, there's a good chance that you just ignored it.
Yes, ma'am.
You weren't paying attention, it wouldn't have
It wouldn't matter to me.
drawn your attention one way or another.
No, ma'am.
Okay. I want to talk to you about the order of how yourself, the Jetta, and the Durango arrived at the Gate gas station prior to the shooting. It's your recollection, correct me if I'm wrong, that the Jetta was there when you pulled in,
I believe so.
the Volkswagen, I'm sorry. Then you pulled in,
Yes, ma'am.
and then after you pulled in, the Durango pulled in.
I believe so.
Okay, so it would have been Mr. Dunn's car first, then you, then the Durango last.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, regarding, I want to go back to your demonstration of Mr. Dunn as he's shooting those last shots. You've described it today in court as a crouching police stance. But, sir, did you talk to the police again that night that it happened?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and isn't it true on that night, when you were sworn in, you told him that he was leaning out of the car?
I possibly said that. It's been 2 years.
Okay, well, would you agree with me that your recollection of the events would have been fresher the night that it happened than it is today?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, sir, when you approached Mr. Guy and asked him for help, specifically, what help did you ask him for?
I asked for 2 things. To stay at the Duval County Jail until the trial was over, and I was asked if I could get a sentence reduction out of this.
Okay. And you asked for a sentence reduction because you thought that the 7 years that you were given was too much
Yes, ma'am.
for 25 felonies.
I thought getting 25 felonies was too much for what I did. 7 years was ridiculous. I'm just 22 when I caught it, 23 now. I ain't gonna be getting out till I'm 29.
Okay. So you're a 25-time convicted felon, and in your opinion, 7 years is ridiculous. So that's why you approached Mr. Guy.
That and it's prison's
And the other.
prison's a very dangerous place.
And finally, Mr. Atkins, again, the night that this happened, when you were questioned by the detectives, they never asked you about the Durango leaving the scene. Isn't that correct?
I really don't recall.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Atkins, I want to ask you about the driver of that Durango.
Okay.
You said that you never saw him get out, but you saw him come back
Yes, ma'am.
and get into the car.
Yes, ma'am.
When he came out and got into the car, did you see him do anything unusual?
No.
Didn't see him do a little dance or dance to music out in the parking lot?
No, ma'am.
Didn't see that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Corey?
Sir, do you recall in prior testimony doing the exact same demonstration and testifying under oath that the shooter had crouched in a police-like position?
Yes, ma'am.
And you did that under oath
Yes, ma'am.
prior to today?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I have one exhibit I need to show him, Your Honor. I'll get it. I got it. I'm good. Excuse me, Your Honor, may I?
Yes, ma'am.
Top off of this for me. Just take the top off of that for me. I can't, yes, I don't lean over these things and fall head first into my exhibit. I have to take the whole bottom. There we go. Sir, I want to ask you, showing you State's Exhibit 171, did you ever see anyone wearing this specific hat get out of that red Dodge Durango?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever see a head on either side of the red Dodge Durango coming out of any windows with this hat on?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Nothing further, Your Honor.
May he be excused?
Actually, he's staying until the end of the trial, so he can be excused for now, but he'll be subject to recall.
Okay.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins. State's next witness.
Tevin Thompson.
Tevin Thompson, please. Mr. Thompson, if you'll come to the front for me, please, sir. And if you'll raise your right hand, the clerk will administer the oath to you.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you?
All right, so if you'll come up this way and right over here. And you can adjust that microphone if you need. Just speak into it loudly so everybody can hear you.
Good morning.
Good morning. That's very good. Mr. Guy, go right ahead.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, sir. If you'd please tell the members of the jury your name.
Tevin Thompson.
And Mr. Thompson, do you live here in Jacksonville?
Yes, sir.
How long have you lived in the Jacksonville area?
10 years.
And how old are you?
19.
Who do you live with currently?
My parents.
On November 23rd, 2012, how old were you?
17, sir.
And in November of 2012, were you in school?
Yes, sir.
Where did you go to school?
Atlantic Coast High.
That's on the south side?
Yes, sir.
All right, what grade were you in?
I was a senior.
Did you know a person named Jordan Davis?
Yes, sir.
How would you characterize your relationship with Jordan Davis? As acquaintances, friends, close friends, what?
We were good friends.
Did you also know a person named Leland Brunson?
Yes, sir.
And how was it that you met Leland Brunson?
Through Jordan.
Did you also know a person named Tommy Storms?
Yes, sir.
And where did you meet Tommy Storms?
I knew him prior before I knew Jordan and Leland.
Where did you meet him?
Oh, at school.
Atlantic Coast?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. Of those three people, Jordan Davis, Leland Brunson, and Tommy Storms, who were you closest to?
Tommy.
All right. In November of 2012, who did you live with?
My parents, sir.
And what part of town did you live in?
Mandarin.
All right. Did you graduate from Atlantic Coast High School?
Yes, sir.
And when was that?
June 2013.
All right. Specifically, let me turn your attention to Friday, November 23rd, 2012. Do you remember that day?
Yes, sir.
Did you see Jordan Davis that day?
Yes, sir.
All right. Tell the jury how it was you came to have contact with Jordan Davis.
Me and Tommy went to go pick him up.
And do you recall the exact time of day that you and Tommy Storms went to pick up Jordan Davis?
Not the exact time, sir.
Was it daylight?
Yes, sir.
All right. And where was Jordan Davis when you all picked him up?
His house.
All right. Was there anybody with Jordan Davis?
Yes, sir.
Who was that?
Leland.
Leland Brunson?
Yes, sir.
All right. And what part of town did Jordan Davis live in?
Mandarin.
How were the four of you traveling that afternoon?
And Tommy's Durango.
Who was driving?
Tommy.
All right. How many doors does that car have?
4.
All right. Let me ask you to look at your monitor. You see States 43 on your monitor?
Yes, sir.
All right. You recognize that?
Yes, sir.
Does that appear to be Tommy Storms' red Dodge Durango?
Yes, sir.
All right. When you and Tommy Storms picked up Jordan Davis and Leland Brunson, where did y'all go first?
My house.
And why did you go to your house?
I went to change.
Yes, ma'am.
The first place you went to your house, and you went there to change clothes?
Yes, sir.
Why did you want to change clothes?
Just to, freshen up.
Did anyone go inside with you when you went to your house?
No, sir.
And is that all you did there, was change clothes and come back out?
Yes, sir.
All right. Where did the four of you go after you left your house?
Town center.
And why were the four of you going to the town center?
Just to, just go out there, hang out and stuff like that, sir.
All right. Did the four of you stay together at the town center?
Yes, sir.
And did you see, or did Jordan Davis see anybody that he knew at the town center?
Yes, sir.
Who was that?
Aaliyah,
And who was Aaliyah?
Jordan's girlfriend,
All right. And do you know her last name?
Harris.
And where was it that Jordan and y'all ran into Aaliyah Harris that night?
Urban Outfitters.
All right. Is that where she worked?
Yes, sir.
All right. And how long were y'all at the Urban Outfitters? Approximately.
Few minutes.
Did the four of you then leave the town center together?
Yes, sir.
And did you leave in Tommy Storn's red Dodge Durango?
Yes, sir.
And where were the four of you going when you left the town center?
To the Avenues Mall.
That's also on the south side?
Yes, sir.
And why were you going to the Avenues Mall?
Just the same thing, just hang out there, walk around.
All right. Who was driving the Durango when y'all left the town center?
Tommy,
All right. And where were you seated?
I was in the front seat, passenger.
All right. Where was Jordan seated?
He was behind me,
And Leland Brunson was seated where?
behind Tommy.
All right. Did the four of you all stop anywhere on the way to the Avenues Mall?
Yes, sir.
Where was that?
The Gate gas station,
And what gate gas station? What location?
Southside and Bay Meadows,
All right. And why did you all stop there?
to get gum.
And why did you want gum?
Just our breath could smell good.
Okay. Were you familiar with that gate gas station?
Yes, sir.
All right. Had you ever been there before?
Yes, sir.
All right. And where did Tommy Storns park in relation to the gate store itself?
To the front of the store.
All right. And when Tommy Storns parked in front of the store, was he facing the store?
Yes, sir.
All right. Was there anybody in the parking space immediately on the passenger side when Tommy Storns pulled in?
No, sir.
All right. Did anyone get out of the car when you all pulled into the gate station?
Yes, sir.
Who was that?
Tommy,
And where did he go?
in the gas station.
All right. Did either you or Jordan or Leland Brunson go into the store?
No, sir.
Did any of you get out of the car for any reason?
No, sir.
Was music playing in the Dodge Durango when you all pulled up to the gate station?
Yes, sir.
And what type of music was playing?
Rap music.
And what was the volume?
It was pretty loud, sir.
All right. How was your window positioned when you all pulled in?
My window was up.
All right. Did you ever put it down?
No, sir.
As the three of you were sitting in the Dodge Durango waiting for Tommy Storns, what was Jordan Davis's demeanor like? What was his mood like?
Normal day. He was just regular Jordan, happy, just like relaxed. Nothing was wrong with him.
Okay. How about Leland Brunson?
Same, sir.
All right. How about your demeanor?
Same.
How about Tommy Storns?
It was the same.
At some point while the three of you were waiting for Tommy Storns, did a car pull into the parking space on the passenger side of the Durango?
Yes, sir.
And that's the side that you were sitting on?
Yes, sir.
What kind or model of car pulled in next to the Dodge Durango?
It was a sedan,
What color was it?
black.
And did it pull into the space immediately next to the Durango or a space further down?
Immediate next to us, sir.
And how close did the driver of the Durango park next to the driver of the black sedan park next to the Durango?
Really close, sir.
Based on where that car was parked, the black sedan, could you have opened your door all the way?
No, sir.
All right, did anyone get out of the black sedan after it pulled in?
Yes, sir.
And was it a male or female?
Female.
Was she white, black, Hispanic, Asian?
White.
All right, did you see where she went?
Yes, sir.
Did you see the driver of the black sedan?
Yes, sir.
Do you think you'd recognize that person if you saw him again?
Yes, sir.
All right, and he's sitting, if you're in the front passenger seat, he's in the driver's seat, he's sitting essentially next to you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you see that person in court this morning?
Yes, sir.
Can you point out where he's sitting and what he's wearing?
He's wearing a black suit. He's standing right over there, sir.
Is he standing or sitting?
I'm sitting. I apologize.
At the front table or the rear table?
A front table.
Your Honor, I ask that the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
Let the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
All right. And while the three of you were waiting, after the defendant pulled in, did he say anything to you or in your direction?
Yes, sir.
And what was that?
Turn the music down. I can't hear myself think.
All right. Did you do that?
Yes, sir.
And were you looking at him when he said that to you?
Yes, sir.
And how did the defendant appear when he said that to you?
A bit upset.
And what did you do when he said turn down the music?
I just turned it down.
Did Leland Brunson or Jordan Davis say anything when you turned the music down?
Yes, sir.
Who said something?
Jordan.
And what did he say?
He said turn it back up.
All right. Did he use curse words when he said that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can repeat those in court. What did he say?
He said, F that, turn the music back up, sir.
All right. Did he use a derogatory term
Yes, sir.
when he said that?
Yeah.
What did he say?
Can you repeat that?
When he said F that, turn it back up, what did he say?
Oh, F that and turn
And?
it back up. Yes, sir.
Okay, did he say and or did he say the word?
He said the word.
Okay. All right, and who was Jordan Davis talking to when he said that?
Me.
And what did you do?
I turned the music back up.
When you turned it back up, did you make it louder than it was before, lower, the same, or what?
About the same, sir.
All right, and is Tommy Storns still in the gate station while this is going on?
Yes, sir.
And did Jordan Davis and the defendant exchange words after the music went back up?
Yes, sir.
Did you say anything to the defendant?
No, sir.
Did Leland Brunson say anything to the defendant?
No, sir.
All right, and is your window still up?
Yes, sir.
Did you ever put your window down?
No, sir.
Could you hear everything that Jordan Davis was saying to the defendant?
No, sir.
Do you recall anything that he said?
Yes, sir.
What was that?
Like F you and stuff like that, sir.
All right, and again, he's saying the whole word.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is the reason that you couldn't hear everything that was said between them because of the music?
Yes, sir.
Did you ever hear Jordan Davis threaten the defendant in any way?
No, sir.
Did you ever see him threaten the defendant in any way?
No, sir.
Did you ever hear or see Jordan Davis attempt to get out of the Durango at any point?
No, sir.
Did you ever see or hear Leland Brunson threaten the defendant in any way?
No, sir.
Did you threaten the defendant in any way?
No, sir.
Did you ever try to get out?
No, sir.
Were you aware of any weapons of any kind in the Dodge Durango that evening?
No, sir.
At some point during the conversation or the exchanging of words between the defendant and Jordan Davis, did you adjust Jordan Davis's window in any way?
Yes, sir.
And how were you able to do that?
Reaching over to Tommy's door and putting the window up.
Okay, were there controls on the driver's door panel to control the windows in the car?
Yes, sir.
And how high did you raise Jordan Davis's window?
About a quarter away from like being all the way up.
All right, well, can you show us with your hands about how much? All right, is that what you demonstrated with your hands? About 3 inches?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and is that the distance between the top of the car door and the window?
Yes, sir.
All right. And did Jordan Davis and the defendant continue to exchange words
Yes, sir.
after that? At some point, did Tommy Storns come back to the Durango?
Yes, sir.
Did you see Tommy Storns threaten the defendant in any way?
No, sir.
All right, and what did Tommy Storns do when he got back to the Dodge Durango?
He opened the car door and then he started dancing to the music.
Did he then get in the car?
Yes, sir.
And did the defendant and Jordan Davis continue to exchange words after he got back in the car?
Yes, sir.
At some point, did you see the defendant with a gun in his hand?
Yes, sir.
And when did you see the defendant with a gun in his hand in relation to Tommy Storns getting back in the Durango?
As Tommy was closing his door.
And what color was the firearm that you saw in the defendant's hand?
Black and silver.
All right, let me ask you to look at States 113. You recognize that?
Yes, sir.
Does that appear to be the gun that you saw in the defendant's hand?
Yes, sir.
All right. Did you see or hear the defendant say anything when you saw the gun in his hand?
Yes, sir.
What was that?
Are you talking to me?
That's what the defendant said?
Yes, sir.
And who did he say that to?
Jordan.
And what was the defendant's demeanor when he said that?
Angry.
And what did the defendant do then with the gun that he had in his hand?
He aimed it towards Jordan's door.
Which is in the seat behind you?
Yes, sir.
And what did the defendant do after he aimed the gun at Jordan's door?
He started to fire.
More than once?
Yes, sir.
What did Tommy Storns do when the defendant started firing the gun?
Put the car in reverse.
Did he back up?
Yes, sir.
Was the defendant still firing his gun as Tommy Storns was backing away?
Yes, sir.
And when Tommy Storns backed up, then what did he do with the car?
Put the car in drive and drove forward.
As Tommy Storns was driving forward now, did you still hear gunshots?
Yes, sir.
What did you do when you heard the gunshots? What were you doing inside the car?
I was ducking, sir.
Which way?
Left. Towards Tommy.
All right, away from the gun?
Yes, sir.
Did Tommy Storns stop the car at some point?
Yes, sir.
And where did he stop the car?
In the plaza.
Okay, let me ask you to look at your monitor. You recognize States 1?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you circle the gate station on there? You got to press kind of hard on that screen. All right. Show the jury approximately where y'all parked, Tommy Storns parked originally.
Right here.
All right, and you were facing the store?
Yes, sir.
All right. And show the jury where Tommy Storns drove when he backed up and pulled forward. All right. You've made a line on the screen.
Yeah.
What does that indicate?
That's where we stopped at, sir.
Okay. And when Tommy Storns stopped the red Dodge Durango in that area that you depicted on the screen, did he pull into a space? Did he back into a space? Or did he just stop right in the middle of the parking lot?
Stop right there, sir.
All right. How did you first learn that that Jordan Davis had been shot?
Tommy began calling everybody's name, and Jordan was the only one who didn't respond.
When Jordan Davis didn't respond to his name, did you look at him?
Yes, sir.
Where was he?
He was in Leland Arms, like laying towards Leland.
Would that be leaned over towards his left?
Yes, sir.
All right. Because Leland was in the seat behind Tommy, behind the driver, behind Tommy Storns?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did Jordan Davis say anything
No, sir.
at any time? Let me finish.
Oh, I apologize.
That's all right. Did Jordan Davis say anything at any time after the defendant started firing his gun?
Can you repeat that?
Did Jordan Davis, was he able to say anything after the gunshots?
Oh, no, sir.
Was he moving in any way when you look back?
No, sir.
Was he making any sounds?
Yeah,
What was that?
like breathing real hard.
Did you get out of the Dodge Durango when Tommy Storns stopped in the parking lot in the plaza?
Yes, sir.
And why did you get out?
To check on Jordan.
And what did you see when you got out of the car?
I seen bullet holes in his door.
In Jordan Davis's door?
Yes, sir.
All right. Did anyone else get out of the Dodge Durango when Tommy Storns stopped in the plaza?
Yes, sir.
Who?
Tommy.
And what did Tommy Storns do?
He came around to Jordan's door also.
Did you ever see the defendant's black sedan again after Tommy Storns stopped in the plaza?
Yes, sir.
And where was it?
It was exiting out the plaza. Out the gate gas station.
All right, let me ask you to look again at States 1. Can you show the members of the jury where you saw the black sedan go? If you can just draw the path. All right, so you've indicated it would have come from the gate station and taken that first left out on the south side?
Yes, sir.
And then a right on Southside Boulevard?
Yes, sir.
All right. Were you inside or outside the Dodge Durango in the plaza when you saw the defendant's car?
Outside.
And what did you do when you saw the black sedan go by?
I was just watching it really hard.
And what did you do? What did you do from there?
Oh, we got back in the car.
All right, when you say we, who are you referring to?
Me and Tommy.
Can you estimate for the members of the jury approximately how long you and Tommy Storns were outside the Durango when y'all were in the plaza?
No, sir.
Was it a long time or a short time?
Short time.
All right. Just long enough for you to check on...
Objection, Your Honor, leaving.
Sustained.
Did you check on Jordan Davis when you got out?
Yes, sir.
Did you do anything else?
No, sir.
All right. What did Tommy Storns do when he got back in the car?
He put the car in reverse.
And did he drive in reverse?
Yes, sir.
Where'd he go?
Back to the gate gas station.
And where'd he park?
Right in front of the store.
Facing the store again?
Yes, sir.
All right. Did you call 911 at some point?
Yes, sir.
And when was that?
As soon as I got out the car, sir. As soon as we pulled up to the gate gas station.
You recall your phone number at that time?
Yes, sir.
What was it?
904. I don't remember.
Would you recognize it if you saw it again?
Yes, sir.
All right. Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes, sir.
Let me show you 198. Ask you to look at that. Can you read that?
Yes, sir.
The print's very small. Does that appear to be your phone number?
Yes, sir.
Does that refresh your recollection as to your phone number?
Yes, sir.
What was it at the time?
904-554-1229.
All right. Do you see on those records your call to 911?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell the jury what time you called 911?
1943. So I'm
7:43?
Yeah, 7:43.
All right. Had you called anybody from the time the shooting started until the time you called 911?
No, sir.
Did you call anybody after you spoke with 911?
Yes, sir.
Who did you call?
I called Malik Williams.
And who's that?
That was me and Jordan, a really good friend.
All right. Did you call anybody else?
Like my parents and my girlfriend.
And why did you call those people?
Just to let them know what happened and that we were all right.
When you got back to the gate station, you're calling 911. Did you get out of the Durango?
Yes, sir.
Where was Leland Brunson when y'all got back to the gate?
He was still in the car.
And where was Jordan Davis?
He was still in Leland Arms.
Did people come over to the Dodge Durango to help?
Yes, sir.
Were there other people that appeared to be calling 911?
Yes, sir.
Did people take Jordan Davis out of the Durango and try to help him?
Yes, sir.
How did they do that?
They pulled him out and tried to give him CPR.
Did the police and rescue respond to the scene?
Yes, sir.
And when the police arrived, did they direct you to go anywhere?
Yes, sir.
Where was that?
First, they told us to go by the cop car, and we stayed. And then they told us going to the gate gas station.
And did you go to the police car?
Yes, sir.
Did you go then into the gas station?
Yes, sir.
Did Tommy Storns and Leland Brunson also go into the gas station?
Yes, sir.
Were there other civilian witnesses that were asked to go into the gate gas station?
Yes, sir.
Later that evening, were you taken from the gate gas station to the police memorial building in downtown Jacksonville?
Yes, sir.
And how did you get to the police station?
By officer.
Police officer?
Yes, sir.
All right. Were Leland Brunson and Tommy Storns transported to the police memorial building with you?
Yes, sir.
As the three of you are going down to the police station, did y'all talk about what had just happened?
No, sir.
Were you interviewed by homicide detectives when you got downtown?
Yes, sir.
And when you spoke with the homicide detectives, were you in the same room with Leland Brunson and Tommy Storms, or were you interviewed separately?
We were separately, sir.
Did you tell the detectives where it happened that evening?
Yes, sir.
When you were at the PMB, the Police Memorial Building that night, did you tell the detectives that y'all had left the gate station and then returned to it?
Yes, sir.
During your interview with the detectives, did they show you a series of photographs?
Yes, sir.
Did you recognize anyone in the photographs?
Yes, sir.
Who did you recognize?
The defendant.
Did you tell that to the detectives?
Yes, sir.
Did they have you write or sign your name on the photograph?
Yes, sir.
And before you were shown that series of photographs, were you given instructions about how to view the photographs?
Yes, sir.
And did you actually sign that instruction form that they provided to you?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, may I again approach the witness?
Yes, sir.
Let me show you first, sir, what's in evidence as States 162. Do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
And what do you recognize that to be?
The instructions.
And how do you recognize it to be the same?
My signature.
All right. You signed that form?
Yes, sir.
All right. And let me show you 161. Do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
And what do you recognize that to be?
The picture of the defendant and the date, my name.
All right. And you signed that for the police and dated it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you write anything on the picture?
Yes, sir.
What did you write?
This is the man that was shooting.
All right. Your Honor, may I pose this to the jury?
Yes, sir.
Do you mind if I hand it to them and let
No,
them
that's
pass it
fine.
around?
They can pass it up among themselves. And again, ladies and gentlemen, you'll be able to take that back to the jury room when you're deliberating the verdict.
Do you have anything else? I know, but they're all on all of them, so I'm just putting them up.
Microphones.
Yeah.
It's on.
All right, Mr. Thompson, let me ask you to look at the monitor one more time. States 9, do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
All right, is that where Tommy Storms parked the car when y'all returned to the gate station?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me ask you to look at 21, do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
Is that, does that photograph depict the area where Jordan Davis's body was laid after he was pulled from the car?
Yes, sir.
Can you circle that for the jury? All right, and States 24, do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
Is that the picture of the wallet that was on the ground there in States 21?
Yes, sir.
All right. And States 27, do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
Is that the car seat that you were sitting in?
Yes, sir.
All right. And States 36, do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
Is that what you saw? You described bullet holes in Jordan Davis's door. Is that what you saw when you got out of the car at the plaza?
Yes, sir.
And States 48, do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
Is that the, what is that?
That's the driver's door, the driver's control panels.
All right. And is that the control panel that you used to raise Jordan and Davis's window?
Yes, sir.
All right. And states 125, last one. You recognize that?
Yes, sir.
Does that appear to be the car that the defendant was driving that evening?
Yes, sir.
All right. Your Honor, that's all I have. Thank you.
Ms. Hanania?
Good morning, Mr. Thompson.
Good morning, ma'am.
Now, sir, I want to start from the first things you were doing on this particular day. This was, as we said, November 23rd of 2012, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that's been almost 2 years ago now. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now, your first contact that day was with Tommy Storns. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You and Tommy Storns knew each other very well at this point. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
You had known Tommy Storns about 2 years at the time that this incident happened, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you had known, and you had met Jordan Davis about just a couple of months before this happened. Is that right?
No, ma'am.
You had met him the summer of the same year this happened, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you met him around
June.
June. So you'd only known him a few months.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And you met Leland Brunson through Jordan Davis, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So you hadn't known him very long either. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you had met Jordan Davis, you said in this previous summer, because through the neighborhood. Is that right?
Nah, I met Jordan before I moved to the neighborhood.
Okay. Because you had started going to school together.
No, ma'am.
How did you meet Jordan Davis then?
Malik Williams, he was our friend, and
Okay.
I met Jordan at the mall.
Okay. But that had just been for a few months. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Now, you were not only better friends with Tommy Storns, you were also engaged in kind of this music enterprise with him as well. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You wrote and were producing your own music?
Yes, ma'am.
Sustain.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes, ma'am. With the court reporter. Mr. Smith, this just is flashing. Oh. Five meaning 5 minutes or seconds? For the whole system? Miss Anania, you're going to need to use this high-tech system
Not
in the
within
next
the
5 minutes?
Not within the next 5 minutes, sir. I am going to need it at some point.
They're telling me it'll reboot in 5 minutes.
I don't believe that I'll need it within the next 5 minutes,
It
sir.
just demonstrates to me, all this high-tech stuff. In the old days, if you had a picture, we had it mounted on a little board, and we'd hand it down the line to you. And you'd have a stack of them when you go back to the jury room. It worked really well. Now you get them on a disc, and you got to have a computer, and if something goes wrong with the computer, we got a problem. Anyway, back to questioning, and hopefully this will reboot. Ms. Hanania.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Thompson, as I was saying, you and Mr. Storns had in common the fact that you worked on music
Yes, ma'am.
together, and y'all had been doing that for at least a year of the time that you had known each other, if not longer. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And on this particular day, on the day in question, you had spent at least 4 or 5 hours at Mr. Storns' home working on music that day. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
He'd come and picked you up, taken you back to his apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that's where you worked on this. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you and Mr. Davis had talked about doing something on this day. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And so, normally, you, Mr. Storns, and with Mr. Storns, would not have been hanging out with Jordan Davis and Leland Brunson. I mean, the 4 of you together. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The reason that Mr. Storns was included in this group this particular day is because you were at his house when you and Jordan Davis finally kind of connected. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And so he'd been calling you throughout this day saying, hey, when are you coming over, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. At this point, the 2 of you, Mr. Storns and yourself, go and you pick up Mr. Davis and Mr. Brunson's there as well. Is that right, sir?
Correct.
Okay. The plan is for you all to go to the town center. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're going to the town center because you want to meet girls.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, you don't remember how long that you were there
No.
at that time. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you don't know exactly where you went except to the Urban Outfitters. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But having not been lucky, I guess, there, y'all decide you're going to go to another mall. Is that right?
Correct, ma'am.
And that was the plan for everybody. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So the 4 of you were then going to go on to the Avenues Mall. Correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, you had a cell phone on that day,
Yes, ma'am.
and Mr. Storns, to your knowledge, had a cell phone on that day,
Yes, ma'am.
and Mr. Brunson had a cell phone,
Yes, ma'am.
and Mr. Davis had a cell phone.
No.
Okay.
No. No,
He
Jordan
didn't-
didn't. Yeah, Jordan didn't have a phone.
He didn't have a phone there at all that day?
Oh, yeah, he had a phone, but it wasn't on.
Okay.
Like, yeah, you said it was on. Like, it wasn't on. Like, he
Okay.
couldn't call.
Okay. My question was, sir, Mr. Davis had a cell phone on him.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. To your knowledge, did he have more than one cell phone?
Not to my knowledge.
Now, at this time, as you're kind of making your way through this evening, at the time that you're heading towards the other mall, it's about 7 o'clock. Would that be fair to say, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you pull up around at the gate station around 7:30 or so. Would that be fair to say?
I can't give you exact time.
Okay. So, but if the video and other evidence said that you guys pulled up there around 7:30, that would be about right. Would that be fair?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, you knew that Mr. Storms was on probation. Is that at the time that this happened, right?
Correct.
And you knew that he was on felony probation. Is that right?
Correct.
And that as a condition of that probation, that he had a curfew. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
This wasn't a parental curfew. This was a curfew imposed by the courts, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
As a condition of this probation that he was on. Is it right?
Yes, ma'am.
And that curfew was 7 o'clock. Is that right?
Correct.
So at this point, you all have decided to move on to this other mall, and you stop at the Gate gas station. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And now, at this point, before you get to the Gate gas station, your window is up. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Storms' window is up.
Correct.
Mr. Davis's window is halfway down.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're not sure about the position of Mr. Brunson's window.
Who won't know what's up?
It was up.
Yeah.
Okay. You're sure that it was up?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Was at any point in this entire incident that we're going to talk about in a minute, was Mr. Brunson's window ever an issue?
No, ma'am.
Okay. But you specifically recall now that Mr. Brunson's window was up?
Yeah.
All right. So now, and Mr. Brunson and Mr. Davis are in the back seat, right?
Correct.
So at this point, Mr. Storms is the driver, and you're the front passenger seat.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And Mr. Brunson's in the rear seat behind Mr. Storms, behind
Yes.
the driver's seat, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Davis is behind you.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Davis and Mr. Brunson were pretty close. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Their relationship was much closer than your relationship with Mr. Davis. Isn't that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And Mr. Storms really didn't know either of them very well. Would that be fair to say?
Correct.
Okay. Now, because Mr. Storms didn't know either of these other two gentlemen very well, they had not been in his car very often. Is that right, sir?
Correct.
As a matter of fact, this particular night is only the second time Mr. Davis had ever been inside that car.
Correct.
And it was only the second time Mr. Brunson had ever been in that car, correct?
First time.
That was his first time in that car?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, throughout this ride, and even on into the ride to the town center, you guys are playing music, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you're playing music in about the same way that you're playing it later on when you get to the gate station, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Meaning it's about the same level, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And just for the record, by level, I mean it's the same volume.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you guys were talking about what your plans were, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You were having some chit-chat here and there, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you had no other way to get to the Avenues Mall except through Mr. Storms, correct?
Correct.
And no other way to get home from that mall except through Mr. Storms, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, when you pull up into the Gate gas station, y'all pull up in to the left of the front doors, correct?
Correct.
And y'all are in the third space from the front doors, right?
I couldn't.
When you first pull up,
Yeah, I just couldn't tell you the exact space.
okay? If I'm, Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
No, ma'am.
May we
I
approach
don't have
your...
any of these things you've got in your hands. None of you have given me any of this sidebar with the
Yes,
court
Your Honor.
reporter. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a morning break now for 15 minutes. So that'll give you until 20 minutes of 11, and we'll resume at that time. Please don't discuss the case among yourselves, nor let anybody discuss the case in your presence or approach you. We'll see you back in about 15 minutes.